I am super excited for this episode of Creators Corners. We have Boots in the booth. For those of you who don't know, he won Zeddie of the Year for Best Race Caller. He's also one of the first people I ever saw call a race on Zed Run, so it was really cool to have him on, share his story. And to start off, we're going to have one of my favorite races that he's ever called with his horse, Legally Challenged. Hope you enjoy.
Hello, friends. It's your old pal Boots here with a special edition of the call. They're racing in the Life Artois, and they are off and running. Our Braxis with Legally Challenged, the boat to Mexico, Cool Crescendo with the one-up, Global Sanction, Dolphin Village, Ice Shark, this round's on me, the Independent rounding out the field. Crossing the 1,000-meter mark, they are 11 across, folks. The boat to Mexico and end-to-end swapping positions at the front of the track with our Braxis and Ice Shark, Cool Crescendo and Pandemonium. Crossing the 800-meter mark, it's Ice Shark, Braxis and Cool Crescendo. Global Sanction out to a nose, but Ice Shark counters down the middle of the track. There goes Ice Shark with Global Sanction. Pandemonium on the outside, trying to catch them at 500 meters. Ice Shark and Global Sanction with Pandemonium and Dolphin Village. Ice Shark and Pandemonium at the 300-meter mark. It's Pandemonium and Ice Shark. Pandemonium and Ice Shark at the 200-meter mark with Cool Crescendo. Global Sanction, and here comes Legally Challenged with 100 meters. Legally Challenged, Cool Crescendo, the boat to Mexico. It's Legally Challenged.
Boots, long time coming. You were actually the first person I think to ever come on. First person I ever asked to actually come onto my show, and you told me you'd love to, but make sure it's good because the community deserves good. And we postponed it nearly a year. So I'm happy to finally do this.
What an obnoxious guy, I'll tell you what. Those Penn State guys.
Yeah, that probably says enough, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I actually don't remember how your story began with Zed Run and how you kind of came across it.
Sure. Ours, it's interesting. The more we chat with people, a lot of our entry into Zed Run is pretty similar, ironically, through NBA Top Shot, where we started, and I say we, there's 5 of us on our team. You know, I'm the primary point of contact, I would say. There's another guy that handles a lot of the training races, and then a couple guys on the back end that are investors / finance guys. So our entry as a team was really through Top Shot, and when we started to dive into that, we started to kind of learn a little bit more about NFTs. And through following people who were doing NBA Top Shot through your typical social media outlets, whether it was Instagram or Twitter, we started to see some chatter about some of the other projects that were out there. And Zed Run was one that we saw a little bit more commonly at that time, which was pretty interesting. It was really February-ish of last year. And we thought, hey, that's pretty interesting. There was an upcoming drop. Let's see if we can get involved in that. And we pulled some resources, bought some horses at the first drop that we were in. And one of them was actually Legally Challenged. And to me, that's one of my favorite stories in all of Zed Run. And I'm obviously a little bit biased, but we had each of our team members obviously was set up to try and get into the drop. And one of the guys on our team is an attorney. And he ironically ended up getting Legally Challenged through the drop. So it's pretty cool. The name sort of tied into his real life profession. And that became the cornerstone of the retro racing stable. We continued to add Genesis horses from that point on and are up to roughly 30, I want to say, at last count, plus all the horses we've bred. And that was a little over a year ago now at this point, and it's been an awesome journey, and glad to be a part of it so far.
A year already. That's crazy. I'm closing in on a year, and it's hard to believe that's gone by so fast.
Yeah, it goes by in a blink, right? That's like 5 years, and a year in the NFT world is like 5 to 10 years in the real world.
Yeah, I
So
say we live NFT space in dog years. It just moves so fast.
yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that.
Now, so you've seen a lot coming in, that early.
Yeah.
I didn't get my first horse until almost June, but I started researching the game in April. So you've seen, creators come and gone. You've seen stables come and gone, big stables come and gone. What do you think is one of the important things for longevity, in the crypto space and for somebody who's interested in Zed Run?
Yeah, I think what people need to understand, it's such a dynamic space. It's still so fresh and so new. And people say this constantly over and over again that are in the space. We're so early. And the reality is we really are very early. I don't know that we're the early ones in the crypto space. I think those were the people that were buying 2014, 2015, 2016. That was really early for crypto. But I think for NFTs, really, in my opinion, if you take away crypto punks, which is obviously the legacy, the beginning, really, and the most commonly known, the explosion of NFTs is still happening right now. And it's really occurred over the last year. And I think it was spurred on really by COVID. Just the fact that there were then so many people, I don't want to use the word trap, but there were so many people that were stuck at home, and their outlet to the outside world was through their computers and learning about what else was out there and what they can invest in and what they can do with money or NFTs. As people got into the space, that sort of prompted some of the growth and explosion over the last year. And I think for people that were in Zed Run, it was a great opportunity to get into what I believe is going to be the longest, most successful running play to earn game that's going to be out there. And I think people just need to understand it is early. They got to be patient with what's going on in Zed Run and really what's going on in the NFT space. I mean, we're obviously over the last 2 months going through a bear market. Some people question whether NFTs have had their run and it's over. I disagree, and I just think of market opportunity and say the exposure of NFTs to the broader market is so small right now that even if a fraction of the rest of the world gets into NFTs over the next 6, 12, 24 months, that's going to be an exponential growth on where it's at. Not to say that that's going to aid every project that's there, but it's going to make an impact on what we call the blue chip projects and the long-term sustainable projects that have good teams behind them.
No, I definitely agree. I think from my perspective, when I first heard about NFTs, it was through Gary Vee. He talked about being able to wrap intellectual property into a physical asset, and then you get to kind of play with as you're the original creator. And that's what really got me excited. And I think a lot of this bear market comes from NFTs not having a whole lot of utility. It was kind of a
Yeah.
a pray and spray approach, like, oh, here's a new project, let's jump on board, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the wild things about Zed Run. What attracted me so much to it was not only were they building utility from the beginning, which isn't been a strong suit for most projects, but they're doing it in such a graphic intensive way that
Yeah.
it's 10 steps above what anybody else is thinking about. Like when you look at the shadowing and the reflections on the track, like that's better than a lot of stuff you've seen from like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because I know my friends in CG, like in movies, like they're really critical of Star Wars because of the shadowing and stuff. Like the hooves might be a little small on the horses, but
That's okay.
but they just seem to be several steps ahead, and I don't think a lot of people see it. Like I remember when Know Your Horse was so hard to use. There was no Haku, and like what came up on OpenSea wasn't what was actually in the horse. So you had to like go to OpenSea for a horse you wanted, then you had to go look at it in Zed, and then
Mm-hmm.
you had to go from there and use the really clumsy version of Know Your Horse, which was still a great tool back then, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like it is now.
Yep.
Just to make sure that you're buying something that really existed.
Yeah.
And
We
I
had
have
some
friends
square
that
wheels
got their
early
first
on.
horse and it wasn't even a real horse. You know what I mean? Like it was a fake horse that was hard to differentiate. So like we've come a really long way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit after the only 2D version of Zed. So that
Mm.
was probably about a couple months before me. So when I did get in, there was actually a live version. But you can even look back at some of the videos that were posted back then. And even to your point, the graphics changes are so incredible that it's night and day from where they started. And, you know, I put out a Zed appreciation tweet yesterday because I think with the challenges that we as individual owners in the ecosystem have on a daily basis, it can at times take away from what the long term picture is
Mm.
and the success that the company VHS and the team has already had thus far. And to your point, they are light years ahead of anyone else in the P2E space, in my opinion. The game works. You can have people that are making a living off Zed Run right now. You
Mm-hmm.
have people that have horses that they buy, sell, breed, and there's those multiple channels of revenue streams. You can have fun just running a horse for free in Zed Run right now in the daily tournaments that don't cost anything, or you can enter paid races. And I think people just at times we do forget about that because we're so hyper focused on day to day stuff that it's tough to zoom out and remember, this is only really year three, I believe, of their project. So I'm super excited to see what Zed looks like in 10 years when, in my opinion, we're going to be able to sit anywhere, throw on a VR headset and ride the jockey or watch this in augmented reality and, knock on wood, be able to actually bet on these horses at a
Mm-hmm.
casino. I think that can happen at some point. I just think we're a little bit away from that, but the acquisitions they've made externally, and they being VHS Studios, the amount of growth that the Zed Run team in particular has seen over the last 6 months is exponential growth. And anyone who knows anything about organizations that are startups or growing, all those indicators are just pure bullish indicators.
Yeah.
Money's coming in, and kind of on that last point, there was someone that put out a tweet the other day, and I'm not going to get this perfect because I don't remember it word for word, but it was something to the effect of, I'm sitting here playing on my Atari, drinking a Stella. The other TV is on a NASCAR race, and I'm about to turn on some Netflix. And now imagine that you have a company that can do all those things, or partner with a company that can do all those things, and that's what Zed Run is.
Yeah.
They're a company that has massive partnerships already, and without spilling too much of some of the conversations I'm privy to, without any proprietary information, because I don't have that. I do know that there are other partnerships that are going to drop here in the next couple months. I don't know who they are. I don't have, like I said, anything that's super alpha. So other than yes, the team has some stuff coming. That's all I know. But all those indicators again are just bullish indicators, and in the meantime, we're still having fun playing the game, and that's what I think is important. If you can find some fun in some of the daily stuff or some of these longer tournaments or paid races, or find someone else in Zed that has a comparable horse to yours that you can connect with and enter races and race against them. I think there's a lot out there to be done, and there's a lot of fun that can be had, and I'm pretty positive and bullish, like I said.
Yeah, I definitely agree too, because especially on that last aspect, like the most fun I have is when I'm on stream or on a Discord call with a group and
Yeah,
we're entering horses together in the same race and,
yep,
calling out a race for somebody to fill and we all jump in and try to fill.
yeah,
Now, it's a little bit lopsided with the people that I race with on who gets the money or if we're in freeze, who gets the
yeah,
podium. But
yeah,
it's still the best time that I've had, playing the game.
yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
strange too because like it's a game, yes, but I think most people are approaching it from an income potential, which means they have to approach it more from a business standpoint.
Sure.
And a lot of these people don't have that experience, so they don't understand the ebbs
Mhm.
and flows and transitions and business cycles and
Yeah,
how like all these things kind of play together and how it feels painful, when a change comes out like stamina or some of the other things we've seen, but it's not unnormal in a business setting.
No,
especially in a pioneering ecosystem. It's insane.
no, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I think people sometimes miss that. They are new to Zed Run, and like any organization, we want to highlight the successes, right?
Mm.
So they'll look and see that a horse was sold for 25 ETH, or a horse just won a $3,000 race, and they hope that that's their horse, when in reality their horse maybe is a 250 grinder, statistically looking at the set of horses that are out there. I use the example of Legally Challenged, and we've had some offers where people have asked us if we would sell the horse, and our answer is no, because we look at him as not only the cornerstone of our stable, but a very successful racer against the best racers in the game, that is going to have some very serious breeding potential if the breeding algorithm is corrected in such a way that we all expect it to be.
Mm.
Um, but somebody else came at me and said, "Oh, I didn't realize that you'd only won, a little over one and a quarter ETH with Legally Challenged." And getting back to your point and why I'm saying this, we look at it as a business and say, when we're entering races, how much are we putting out there? What is the risk associated with that? Is it a plus EV event for us? A better expected return value. Um, and if we're entering those 500 and $1,000 races against billions and Y2K, 2K, the Crimson Chin, Milk Bar Mania, over the long run, entering those races would be a massive negative EV. So we don't do that. So
Mm.
we really have a great horse, but are still grinding in $25 and below races. So we've run a lot of races, we've won a lot of races, but we might not have that return. But again, we kind of view it as a risk reward and think that from a strategic perspective and a bankroll perspective, allocating those assets to scooping up other Genesis horses was a better opportunity for us than hoping to win that 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 races, where we might get a better return, or we might get a little bit of return on what we're putting in. So, people, to your point, not everyone understands the economics and the business of it. And I think there's a big lesson to be learned for people that want to get into the game and have it be a career opportunity or an economic opportunity, versus a subset of people that want to do it kind of almost a little bit of the DraftKings. I want to run a race here and there. I want to put a couple bucks down, and then people that are just purely in it for fun. I think there's a couple different silos of people that are getting into the game or are in the game, and figuring out where you are is
Mhm.
very important, because that can really dictate how you play the game and the fun and success that you have.
And that was one of the key points that Bryce touched on when I talked to him, which was the last video that went up, was really honing in on what is it that you're trying to accomplish
Yep.
and looking for horses that fit that strategy. Because somebody who's racing essentially for a living on this platform is going to have a completely different outlook on horses and what types of horses to buy and what horses to avoid
Yeah.
than somebody who's using as a store of value, or someone who's using as entertainment, or somebody who's coming in and spending 30 ETH for the best horse in the game that's available and winning big pots or destroying tournaments. Like, they're all completely different strategies, and I think we have to be okay saying at times either we don't know what we're doing, or the strategy just doesn't dictate us and it doesn't allow us to play the game at certain times. And I think that's cool that that's actually transitioning to that, right? Like, Jay has said in the last interview he did that they want it to be a tough choice when and where you run your horse, because you're going to have to miss out on something else. And I think that's going to be key going forward, especially for bigger stables that have unique horses that maybe don't have a good place right now. A horse like Legally Challenged, who's definitely a really good horse, but you put a really good horse up against the top 1% and the 1% of the 1% in a one race,
Yeah.
then it's hard to be great.
Yeah. It's hard to get that return there. And talking about strategy, I touched on it prior to our hopping on, but I think as a team we might have had the wrong strategy, or maybe maybe at the time I should say it was the right strategy, but maybe not what ended up being the best long-term strategy with some of our purchases. We ended up kind of going for some rare coat colors early on, and at the time, and I mean early on, I'm talking about literally back in March and April of last year,
That's
and
real
how
early.
much as the ecosystem has changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and at the time, if you looked at the way breeding was going, coat colors were flying off the shelves.
Mhm.
People would actually go for a quality coat color first or a rare coat color because they were trying to breed super coats. So we put a fair bit of money into that. And then fast forward a year today, coat colors, one or two of them still go. But some of our middle Z's that, the fives and sixes that we thought were going to just print money, maybe we sell a cover per cycle versus the three that we were getting before. So it's just interesting to see how the ecosystem as a whole has changed. My hope with those types of horses is the evolution of these tournaments will enable specific coat color tournaments to be run, or specific super rare versus rare type tournaments and specific Z numbers, where as a community we can actually drill down to what we want to set as parameters. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be here very soon, or within the next 6 to 12 months, which doesn't sound like a long time, but is a long time, but really isn't, which will enable more opportunity for horses that are maybe on the shelves to either run, or breed, or become more valuable assets to sell.
Yeah.
So I think as the ecosystem continues to evolve, as party mode comes, and we all know that it will come at some point, I think that's going to open up a lot more opportunity for horses that, like I said, are just hanging out, maybe not running, maybe not as profitable as people thought they would be, but just give more of a chance to everyone.
Think so. I think personally, with the direction that they're going and with them enabling, like you said, party mode and horse renting, that a good name and coat color combination is highly underrated. Because when you have somebody who's just your weekend player or your once a month player who just wants to get on, rent a quick horse, and say they Zedded for the weekend, right? If they don't have the experience and knowledge to pick a winning horse or what's a good horse, they're going to go with what's familiar. So, is it their
Yeah.
favorite color? Does it have a cool name? Do the name and the color match? Like, those are going to be the ones that get rented all the time, is my
Yeah.
opinion. And then your higher end stables that understand the game are going to pick the specific racers for specific races and go through all that craziness.
Yeah, the renting aspect is really fascinating to me. I think processing logistics of it, say, okay, so let's take legally challenged as an example. How can I control the parameters around renting out that horse
Yeah.
so that I know that whoever rents it isn't going to, say, throw it in a 2,000 meter race where my horse is going to get smoked because it's
Yeah.
really 1,000 and 1,200 meter specialist. How do I know that the person is going to be as strategic as I am? If it goes and looks at a race and it's like, oh, Y2K, 2K, what is this horse? Milk Bar Mania. This sounds like a silly name. Let me just throw it in against Sub
Right.
Xerox or Dez. There's a lot that I think goes into it that we just can throw around the idea of renting, and it's going to be amazing. That the team has to be very cognizant of way before they put this out. And I think they really need to make sure that they get the right community feedback, to
Mhm.
ensure that prior to doing that, it's going to be something that is going to work. I don't know if that's separating of statistics where you can parse out the rented person running it versus, say, Jeff, who's been in Zed Run for a year and has been running the horses at the right distances and against the right competition and in the right valued races.
Yeah.
I think it's important that all that stuff really, really be ironed out. This isn't just let's up or increase or decrease fatigue. Well, that's probably an easy switch, something
Yeah.
they've done and probably are going to do again. This is way more complex than that. So I just want to make sure the team is pretty cognizant that there are many more moving parts than here's legally challenged. You can rent them for the day at 0.1 ETH and have a ball.
One thing that's interesting with the horse racing or horse renting, and I think it's cool that Zed Run's doing it, is they're testing out with their stable, the one that they're putting together with the remaining Genesis. They're gonna go through the aches and pains themselves first in live real time with real humans and not just simulated humans, and kind of fumble through it before they give us access to it. And I'm hoping that alleviates a lot of what the concerns that communities had and what you kind of expressed too, because they're very important conversations. We don't want great horses looking like crap because inexperienced people ran them.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think we could have a massive debate for days and days and days on end as to what Zed should do with the remaining Genesis. At this point, obviously, there will never be a drop again. I don't know if they would do like a lottery system where they did that $1 million drop, and some people hated that, some people loved it. We as a stable loved it. We were fortunate to get 2 Z10 Genesis horses for free, so that's a plus side opportunity for us. But it's really fascinating because there are a lot of Z1s and Z2s that are sitting there that could be great racers, and the question is, should those somehow go to the community? Should Zed give those away as prizes and tournaments? I won't go down that path. I think there's, like I said, we could sit here on hours and debate some opportunity for that, but I would much prefer that instead of putting any statistics on those horses, for the time being, leave them until a great solution can be presented. Yeah. That enough people, and again, I say the word enough, simple majority, 51% over 49, because at the end of the day, you're never going to get everyone agreeing, and there's always going to be debate. But I would prefer that Zed just say, hey, let me ask if people want to participate in the program, pick a couple stables early on that are willing to throw a horse in. And, we have some decent enough racers where if Zed could just move one of my horses from class 1, where it's stuck up there right now, down to class 4 or 3, it could run there pretty competitively. I just haven't had the time to juice it back down or to downclass it. But I would much prefer they did something like that, because I think there's so much value to those already in the ecosystem or those getting in with those non-brand Genesis right now, that to me, it's almost like burning an asset and devaluing it. And as someone who's heavily invested in Zed and the success of the community in the long run, I would not appreciate us depreciating potentially valuable assets.
Right. No, it's and that, I think that's the great balancing point, right? Because it seems like anytime you make the game more accessible, you're devaluing the higher end assets that are a little bit more out of reach, and it's not a balancing game that I'm happy I have to solve. Now, one thing that I don't think most people realize coming in, and they probably don't have any reason to, but you actually won Announcer of the Year in the first Zed Awards. That's a pretty big accomplishment. Yes. So how cool was that for you?
It was awesome. I'll say that, people ask me all the time, how did you get into horse racing announcing? And it was just random. I thought it would be fun to actually have a voice over some of the races. So I kind of popped on YouTube and I did a couple. And then if everyone knows Pack Protocol, who owns Perfect Cadence and Black Rain, he actually reached out to me after Perfect Cadence had won one of the bigger races early on. It was like a $300 entry or $500 entry, and was like, hey man, can you call this race for me? I'd be super excited. Just record it. I did it, went through, sent it to him. He's like, hey, let's do that again. And can you send it? Can you like put the starting bugle horn over it that you hear at Churchill Downs? So I did that. And he's like, I love it. This is amazing. He's like, you should be doing this all the time. So started doing it more and got fairly decent at it. And when Zed and when Zook and Keith were putting together the Zeddies, they put me on there as, one of the entrants for best announcer, and winning I thought was pretty awesome. It's nice to be recognized for something that I thought was more fun for the community than anything that I was looking for any recognition for. But it's been a blast. I'm looking forward to actually getting back in the booth, doing more race calls, doing giveaways, racing the horses live on stream. To your point, when you're on stream or you're in Discord and you're going up against other people in a live format, kind of our own version of party mode, it really is a lot more fun for Zed. It kind of humanizes what we're doing. And I think that's a big component because there's a lot more of an emotional aspect that comes from me beating you on stream, or me beating Crazy Cat on stream, or me beating Lacey, or me beating Zook, or me beating Zombie, whomever it is, or CJ, whomever it is. If we're doing it on stream, it really is that much more fun. It gets the competitive juices flowing versus, okay, I entered a race, I'm just going to look at the results. I'm probably not going to watch the race because I've got 5 more I got to run today.
Yeah.
So the announcing part has been a blast. I love doing it. I tell anyone anytime, if you have a race that you want me to call, if you won your first race, your 100th race, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to record it and do it for you. I think everyone should have their bigger moments in Zed memorialized and have more of a spectacle of it. Because these are things that, we enjoy this. We take pride in it. And, we're going to look back one day like, yeah, I remember, everyone remembers their first win. Not everyone remembers their 56th win. But people remember that 500th win and so on and so forth. So I think having a way to memorialize it and keep that on the back end where you can go back and say, yeah, I remember doing this. This was a blast. It just adds to the lore and excitement in the long run of what we're building.
No, I definitely agree. And I know I've enjoyed when I first discovered, because that's how I kind of found you, was I was watching Zed streams and you came on and everyone got amped because you were going to do a call. And I'm like, oh, sweet, people actually do this because I don't want to do it. Like that's not what I want to do, but I want somebody to do it for me. So
Sure.
it was kind of cool to see that, and I do hope you get to the point where you can do it more again, because one, it needs to be done. Two, it's a lot of fun having you on stream do it. So
Thanks. Yeah, we're going to be in the booth tonight, probably 7 to 9 or 8 to 10, firming that up because we have a guest or two that's going to pop on and just talk about some other things that are going on around us in the NFT world.
nice.
And then we're going to intersperse some calls and some racing, and I'm going to run some of my ponies. And I got a couple giveaways here that are going to be giving away tonight. Everyone's favorite, my other horses, an NFT shirt. We've got some donkey glue shirts, so hopefully one or two of the ladies can pop on, so I can give away one of these ladies shirts that I had ordered as well. So
Nice.
yeah.
How fun has it been partnering with other stables in the swag store?
We love doing that. That was actually an idea that spurned from us as the 5 of us saying, hey, we want a retro hoodie or a retro t-shirt. One of the guys on our team is pretty tech savvy, so he said, hey, I'll just set up a store. He set up the store, and then he was playing around and he created that donkey glue logo, which became its own brand in itself. And I don't know if you ever saw that early promo that I cut where I'm drinking the donkey glue coffee mug, and I talk about when I enter a Zed Run race and my horse finishes last, nothing tastes sweeter than drinking it out of my donkey glue mug.
I have not, but now I have to go find it.
No, I'm gonna. I'll see if I can dig it up. I think I still have it. But to me, again, it just gets back to a big part of what we wanted to do as the retro team was help build the community around us. It's not just about us, especially when you're talking about the long-term success of a project like Zed and any NFT, no matter what it is, or any organization. If you can find ways to embrace the community, if you can find ways for people to get more involved, it really builds something a lot more special that people want to be a part of. I tell people all the time, we make nothing off merch. We literally make enough to cover our costs to maintain the website, for somebody to spend some time and energy to upload the graphics, make sure everything fits, to set up each individual store. We're not there to make millions of dollars off merch. We're just there for people like Hanalei Acres and XYZ Run and the Know Your Horses guys to have some of their own gear. So when they're sitting on stream or when we go to these events where we're doing in-person stuff, it's cool to rock your own stable's logo. It kind of validates, in my opinion, a little bit more about who you are as a stable. It's very identifiable as well. We all know Ryan when he wears his KYH hat. We all know CJ when he wears his XYZ Run stuff. We know Boots when he wears his retro racing gear, his Penn State hat. Yeah. But it's fun, and people seem to generally like it, and we make sure that the stuff's good quality because you want to wear it, and it's a blast. We're happy to do it. I know there's another 1 or 2 stables that are going to be going up here shortly. I'm not going to ruin the surprise of who they are, but if you are a stable and interested in having your own merch, just shoot me a DM. I'll let you know exactly what we need. We will get you set up, pretty quickly. Hat, hoodie, T-shirt, just stuff where you can pop on, order it. It's very quick and simple, and then you can have your own gear. So when you're sitting there on stream with your buddies, or you go out to a bar and you're going to run races, you can rock the swag.
Sweet.
Cheers.
Well, this has been fun, man. I can't wait to have you back on, and I have a lot more questions because I know you've been around for a while. And we touched here and there and talked on and off, but I definitely want to do a round 2 sooner than later.
I mean, it's been awesome. I appreciate you having me, and like I said, hopefully we'll be back in the booth here tonight, and then getting back on a consistent rotation. So we'll bring people on. We're going to do some race call contests live on stream. So if anyone wants to do stuff like that, or if you just want to come on stream and race horses, whatever it is, just let me know. Like I said, and to echo what you said, it's way more fun to have someone else on stream and race against them or have some banter with what's going on with their horses than it is for people to hear Boots sit and ramble on for 2 hours. My fiance hears that every day, and even she gets tired of it. So,
all right, man. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on again.
All right, Mike. Cheers, mate. Be well.